All right, everyone, buckle up. It's time for our deep dive into all things entertainment. We're talking Oscars, streaming wars, global hits, you name it. We've got the latest from Further and Better's TV, film, and media industry international news roundup, fresh off the press for Friday, January 24th, 2025.
Always a lot to unpack, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into it, shall we? Starting with well, how could we not the Oscars? The nominations are out, and honestly, I'm still processing some of these. Like, Emilia Pérez, a non-English language film, just snagged a record-breaking 13 nominations.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Unprecedented, really. No non-English film has ever gotten that many.
I know, right? It's huge. Do you think this could be, like, a real turning point for international cinema, finally getting the recognition it deserves in Hollywood?
It might be. We've definitely seen international films gain some traction over the past few years, but this is a whole other level. It really makes you wonder if the Academy and maybe, audiences too are starting to broaden their definition of what makes a film Oscar-worthy.
I wonder if it also points to, like, a shift in Hollywood itself. Maybe they're finally starting to embrace global storytelling in a bigger way.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And it's not just Emilia Pérez either.
Oh.
You've got Wicked, The Brutalist, Conclave, and of course Dune, Part 2. All strong contenders for Best Picture, all representing different genres and styles. It's a really diverse field, which I think reflects the evolving tastes of moviegoers.
Yeah, Doom Part 2. I'm really curious to see if it lives up to all the hype. But okay, back to the Oscars. Were there any nominations that just totally caught you off guard?
Well, Jeremy Strong and Sebastian Stan getting nods for The Apprentice, that was definitely a surprise. I mean, you don't see actors from a reality TV background get recognized by the Academy every day.
I know. It's like, what? That one really threw me for a loop. Part of me wonders if it's like a strategic move by the Academy, trying to appeal to a younger audience. But maybe, just maybe, their performances genuinely resonated with the voters on an artistic level. It definitely raises some questions, doesn't it? About what we consider good acting these days.
For sure. I think it challenges those preconceived notions we have about what an Oscar-worthy performance should look like. Should be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Definitely. All right, so we've got Oscar drama brewing, but hold on to your hats, folks, because the streaming wars are about to get even more intense. Warner Bros. Discovery is suing Paramount for, wait for it, $500 million.
Yeah, things are heating up in the streaming world, that's for sure.
So break it down for us. What's at the heart of this lawsuit? It involves South Park, right?
It does. Essentially, Paramount is accused of breaching their contract with Warner Bros. Discovery, by diverting South Park specials to their own platform, Paramount Plus One, they basically took content that Warner Bros. Discovery had paid for and put it on their own service.
Ooh, that's like a classic case of you promised me this, but you gave it to them instead. This feels like it could have major implications for the whole streaming industry, right?
It could. This case could set a precedent for how streaming rights are interpreted and enforced going forward. And it raises some really interesting questions about the power dynamics at play, between the streaming platforms and the content creators they rely on.
Right, so it's not just a Hollywood squabble. This could actually impact what we're watching and how much we're paying for those streaming subscriptions.
Exactly. Think about it if Warner Bros. Discovery wins. Streaming platforms might have to become much more cautious, maybe even less competitive when it comes to buying content.
Yeah.
That could affect the variety and availability of shows and movies for all of us.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about it that way. I guess we'll have to see how this legal battle shakes out. But hey, while the streaming giants are duking it out in court, there's another trend that's been catching my eye, and it's actually pretty exciting, the rise of global content. I mean, we're not just talking about a few international shows here and there anymore. This is like a tidal wave of content coming from all over the world.
Yeah, it really is. Plum Research found that Spanish language content on streaming platforms has increased by 73% over just the past 5 years, and that's just one example. Latin American content on platforms like Netflix, Disney Plus, and Amazon Prime Video, we're talking like a 300% surge since 2017.
Whoa, those numbers are insane. What do you think is...
Oh, yeah. Korean dramas, for example, are getting super popular all over the world. Shows like Queen of Tears and True Beauty, they're really captivating audiences with their unique blend of romance, drama, and cultural insights. Have you seen any of those?
I haven't yet, but they're definitely on my list. So even though overall streaming growth might be slowing down, it seems like certain genres are still really strong, like sports and, of course, all this international content.
That's right. I think it's because they offer something fresh, something different,
Hmm.
a breath of fresh air in a landscape that can sometimes feel a bit, well, stale.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so far we've covered the Oscars, the streaming wars, and the global content boom. Anything else big happening in the entertainment world?
Well, there's some pretty cool new projects in development. I think our listeners might find them quite intriguing.
Oh, I'm all ears. Spill the tea.
Okay, so there's this Australian tech thriller called Dark Mode about a doctor who's trying to escape a stalker by, like, erasing her online presence. It just got $100,000 in development funding.
Ooh, a digital detox gone wrong. Sounds intense. I'm in. What else?
This one's a bit different, a biopic about Vidkun Quisling, who was, well, a notorious Nazi collaborator from Norway. I'm really curious to see how they handle the, ethical complexities of portraying a figure like that.
Wow, that's a tough one. Makes you think about how we deal with history, right? And how to balance condemnation with understanding. Okay, what else is coming down the pipeline?
Well, Questlove is directing a new documentary about the legendary folk musician Sly Stone called Sly Lives.
Yeah.
It's premiering at Sundance, so that's definitely one to watch out for.
Oh, I love Questlove. And Sly Stone is a legend. I'll definitely be checking that out. Anything else?
One more thing. Remember that Star Trek Section 31 project with Michelle Yeoh? Well, they were originally going to make it a series, but now they're turning it into a streaming movie for Paramount Plus Lekipai, probably hoping to, capitalize on her recent Oscar win.
Smart move. Michelle Yeoh is amazing, and Star Trek has a huge fan base. I think that's going to be a big hit. Speaking of big events, Sundance Film Festival is happening right now, isn't it? What's generating buzz this year?
Sundance always has so much great stuff. There's a new documentary about Jeff Buckley called It's Never Over. It's directed by Amy Berg, and get this, executive produced by Brad Pitt.
Wow, talk about star power. What is it about Buckley, that keeps people so fascinated even after all these years?
I think it's the combination of his incredible talent and the tragedy of his early death. His music really resonated with people, and this documentary promises to offer some new insights into his creative process and legacy.
Sounds like a must-see. What else is catching your eye at Sundance?
The Dating Game. It explores the challenges of dating in China, where there are literally 30 million more men than women. It delves into the whole social and cultural landscape around dating in that context, which I think is really fascinating.
Yeah, that's a whole different world, isn't it? It really makes you realize how much cultural context shapes our experiences, even something as universal as, well, trying to find love.
Absolutely. I think it'll be a really insightful look at modern relationships.
Okay, so we've got documentaries about musical icons, explorations of dating in China. Sounds like Sundance is living up to its reputation for, showcasing diverse and thought-provoking stories.
It's definitely a testament to the power of independent filmmaking. Always pushing boundaries, always challenging conventions.
Love it. Okay, this is all so exciting. My watch list is officially overflowing.
Mine too. It's a great time to be a film and TV fan. There's just so much great content out there.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from Oscar contenders to streaming showdowns, global hits, and promising new projects. It's clear that the entertainment industry is, constantly changing and evolving.
For sure. And I think it's more important than ever to stay informed and have meaningful conversations about these stories and these trends.
Totally agree. But we've only just scratched the surface. Stay tuned for part 2, where we're going to go even deeper into the forces that are shaping the future of entertainment.
It's interesting when you look at all these individual stories and projects we've been talking about, they actually reflect some bigger trends happening across the entertainment landscape.
Oh, okay. I'm all ears. Lay it on me. What are these bigger trends you're seeing?
Well, we already touched on the whole global content explosion, but it goes beyond just language. I think there's a growing appetite for stories that challenge those traditional Western narratives.
It's about broadening our perspectives, right? Seeing the world through a different lens.
Exactly. And we see this reflected in projects like that Vidkun Quisling biopic. It's a story that forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about history and human nature. It's not always easy to watch, but I think it's important.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just about the past either. The Dating Game, for example, tackles a very contemporary issue, that gender imbalance in China. But it does it through a personal lens, It really makes you think about the challenges people face in different parts of the world. Challenges you might never have even considered before.
Right. It's about finding those universal themes, love, loss, identity, but exploring them within very specific cultural contexts. That's what makes them so compelling.
So it's about striking that balance between global appeal and cultural authenticity, which I imagine is no easy feat.
It's a tricky balance for sure. Filmmakers want to create stories that resonate with a wide audience, but they also don't want to sacrifice those unique cultural nuances that make the stories so special. And you know what else I'm seeing a lot more of? Collaboration.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
Well, we're seeing a lot more partnerships between studios from different countries, like that deal between TV Asahi in Japan and Smart Dog Media here in LA for that new Song versus Dance talent show. It's about blending different creative perspectives, different approaches to create something new and exciting.
I love that. Makes total sense. And it's not just about studios collaborating either, is it? We're also seeing a lot more diversity behind the camera, which is so important. Writers, directors, producers from different backgrounds, all bringing their unique voices to the table.
Absolutely. And that diversity of voices is essential for creating authentic and engaging stories. It's about making sure that the people telling the stories accurately reflect the cultures and communities being represented.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I think the entertainment industry is finally realizing the power of collaboration and diverse perspectives.
It's about time, right?
Okay.
And it's not just about storytelling, it's about business too. Studios are waking up to the fact that the global market is where the real growth is.
Okay, so how are they tapping into that global market? Any specific examples?
Well, look at what Ibero-American studios are doing. They've had so much success with Spanish language content, and now they're expanding into English language productions. They've got the talent, they've got the experience, and their production costs are often lower, so they're in a great position to attract a global audience.
It's like they're saying, hey, world, we've got stories to tell. It's pretty inspiring, actually.
It is. And this expansion is creating opportunities not just for studios, but for actors, writers, crew members. It's a ripple effect that benefits everyone.
Okay, so we've got global content, collaborative projects, diverse voices behind the camera, all really positive developments. Are there any trends you're seeing that have you, I don't know, a little concerned? Or maybe just trends that you find particularly interesting?
Well, one trend that I find both fascinating and a bit unsettling is the growing focus on content that reflects the anxieties of our time,
Yeah.
especially those anxieties related to technology and privacy. It's like we're grappling with these issues, not just in our daily lives, but also through the stories we consume.
Yeah, you're right. Think about that dark mode film, the one with the doctor who goes offline to escape a stalker. It definitely taps into that fear we all have of online surveillance, online harassment. It makes you wonder if we're becoming more paranoid as a society.
It's a valid question.
Yeah.
And it's not just dark mode either.
Mm.
Think about that documentary premiering at SXSW, The Age of Disclosure. It's all about the alleged government cover-up of UFOs, which plays into those anxieties about secrecy and, well, potential threats from the unknown.
Oh, yeah, that one definitely has people talking. It's like we're looking to entertainment to help us make sense of a world that feels increasingly uncertain and out of control.
Exactly. And that's what's so powerful about stories. They help us process our emotions, grapple with difficult questions, and even offer a bit of catharsis, even if they don't provide easy answers.
I think we can all use a bit of that these days. So, with all these global trends and anxieties swirling around us, what do you think the future holds for the entertainment industry? Are you optimistic? Pessimistic?
I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, on one hand, we have more access to content than ever before from all over the world, and that content is becoming more diverse, more innovative, and more reflective of our shared human experience. That's something to be excited about.
I'm with you on that. But I'm guessing there are challenges too, right? The entertainment industry is rarely smooth sailing.
True. The streaming wars are definitely intensifying, and the competition for our attention is only going to get fiercer. This could lead to higher subscription prices, more exclusive content deals, and maybe even a fragmentation of the market. We might end up having to subscribe to a dozen different services just to watch everything we want.
Ugh, that's the downside, isn't it? More content, but also more competition and maybe less money in our pockets. What's a viewer to do?
Well, I think it all comes down to the power of choice. As consumers, we get to decide which platforms we support, what content we watch, and what stories we value. We're not just passive viewers anymore. We have a voice, and we can use it to shape the future of entertainment.
So we're not just along for the ride, we actually have a role to play in steering the ship.
Exactly. Our choices, our voices, our demands, they all influence what gets made, what gets seen, and what ultimately succeeds. It's a collaborative effort between the creators and the consumers.
Okay, so it's a partnership. We're all in this together, which is actually a pretty cool thought.
It is. And that's why it's so important to stay informed, stay engaged, and keep those conversations going. We need to be mindful of the choices we make, the stories we support, and the impact we can have on the industry as a whole.
Well said. I'm suddenly feeling a lot more responsibility for my viewing habits. But before we get too serious, are there any other developments brewing in the industry that you think our listeners should know about? Any juicy gossip or behind-the-scenes shakeups?
Well, there have been a few interesting executive moves lately. Chris Oliver Taylor, who was the chief content officer at ABC, is stepping down after just 2 years. And it looks like his departure is going to lead to a restructuring of the leadership team, which could mean big changes for the network.
Ooh, that's interesting. Any word on why he's leaving or what this restructuring might mean for the types of shows ABC produces?
No official word on his reasons just yet. But he did oversee some significant content growth during his time there. As for the restructuring, it seems like they're aiming to streamline decision-making and encourage more collaboration across the network. It'll be interesting to see how it impacts their programming.
Okay, so changes afoot at ADC. Any other executive shakeups making headlines?
Yeah, V10 Entertainment just appointed a new president, Carter Skeeth. They've been expanding globally and acquiring a lot of new content, so his industry experience will definitely be valuable as they continue to grow. Sounds like they've got some pretty ambitious plans.
New leadership, new acquisitions are definitely ones to watch. What about those festival highlights you mentioned earlier? Anything catching your eye besides the films we already talked about?
Oh, Sundance always has a few gems. Kiss of the Spider Woman is generating a lot of buzz. It's directed by Bill Condon, starring Diego Luna and Jennifer Lopez. And it's a musical adaptation of the famous novel, so it already has a built-in fan base.
Wow, star power and a beloved story. I can see why people are excited about that one. What else is on your radar?
Train Dreams is getting some great early reviews. It stars Joel Edgerton, and it's based on a short story by Dennis Johnson, so it could be a real contender come awards season. And for thriller fans, there's The Thing with Feathers with Benedict Cumberbatch, which is definitely one to watch.
Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch. Always a good draw. So it sounds like Sundance is offering up a diverse mix of films, as always.
It is, and that diversity is a really encouraging sign for the independent film market. Shows that there's still a strong appetite for stories that challenge conventions and push boundaries.
Totally agree. Well, with all this talk of Sundance and global content, I'm feeling inspired to add a few more titles to my watch list. There's just so much out there to discover. But amidst all this excitement, there's one question that keeps nagging at me.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the question?
With so much international content making its way onto our screens, are we entering a golden age of global storytelling, or is it more complicated than that?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the answer is, well, it's nuanced. There are definitely pros and cons to consider.
I figured it wouldn't be a simple yes or no answer.
It's complicated, right? Yeah, the landscape's definitely complex. On the one hand, though, you are right. We're definitely seeing more stories from all over, more voices being heard, more appreciation for, different cultures and perspectives, which is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Breaking down barriers, expanding horizons. It's exciting.
I agree. But here's the thing. In this whole pursuit of global appeal, there's a risk, I think, that some of the unique things about those cultures, those specific nuances that make those stories so special, could get lost.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like trying to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a tough balance for sure. And then there's the question of who's telling those stories.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Well, just having more international content isn't enough, right? We need to look at who's behind those stories. The writers, the directors, the producers, they need to be representative of those cultures too. That's how you get authentic stories.
Right, right. It's not just about quantity, it's about quality and authenticity. It's about empowering those voices, giving them a platform.
Exactly. And that's where, you, the viewer, come in.
Okay, so what can we do? How can we support this kind of authentic global storytelling?
Well, I think it starts with being a conscious consumer.
Yeah.
Be curious, Don't just watch whatever's put in front of you. Seek out those stories from different cultures. Support filmmakers from, backgrounds that aren't typically represented. And talk about it. Share it on social media. Write reviews. Let your voice be heard.
So be an active participant, not just a passive viewer.
Exactly. Choose to watch, choose to support, choose to engage.
That's great. And it's not just about entertainment, is it?
No, it's bigger than that. It's
Yeah.
about understanding, empathy, connection. Recognizing our shared humanity, even when, things are different. The stories we watch can really change how we see the world.
That's a powerful thought.
Right.
So as we navigate this crazy world of entertainment, I think it's important to remember that we have a role to play, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to be mindful of our choices, the stories we support, and the impact we can have.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I have to say, I'm feeling incredibly inspired by this conversation. Thank you so much for, sharing your insights and expertise. It's been really eye-opening.
My pleasure. I always enjoy these conversations. It's fascinating to explore what shapes the stories we tell and the stories we consume.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the entertainment industry. We hope you found it as insightful and engaging as we did. Remember, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep those conversations going. Until next time, happy watching.